All right. Uh, Let me see. I'll put this down here. Yeah, or I guess up here so I can see it. I'm going to go ahead and start. I really respect your time and I thank you for stopping in for this Zoom session. I just made the essay available and visible, and it's I know it's not due for almost a month, but I wanted to give everybody a good start on it. And so here's the question. You have not been able to view this before today, am I right?
Correct.
Okay. All right. So the object of the essay is to look at Sally McFay's article and Solomon's article, and you've done the discussion boards for both by now, hopefully. And what you're going to do is you're going to use McFay's argument to critique Norman Solomon's argument. Now, I know that's really confusing, so let me just start with a couple of things. First, I'm not asking for your opinion. You're not going to be critiquing Solomon's view or McFay's view. You're going to, because really, Sally McFay is one of the premier theologians in America today. So, thinking that we could critique her, we can reflect on it, but critiquing her overall view would take 40 pages. So do you remember Sally McFay's overall paper? What did she do? Do you remember?
Yeah, she kind of just talked about like Christian values and just overall, um, humanitarian um, ways of thinking that everybody should have, and
Okay.
how we
And
should apply that to, um, economics and stuff like that.
okay.
Mhm.
Remember too, she set up two different um, models for economics. One was the neoclassical model, which is the current model.
Right.
And remember, um, that's based on greed and it's not doing a really good job.
Yeah.
So then she proposes her second model that she talks about, the ecological model.
Mhm.
Um, and so she explains why we need to change just our overall view or models. Now, Solomon, what does he do? He kind of does what you were talking about. He looks at the current economy and says we need to work on this. He proposes some tweaks to the current economy.
Mhm.
So your overall um, job on this paper is to, uh, first of all, if you're just tweaking the current model, Sally McFay would reject that, right? Because it's a model based on greed.
Right.
So what you would do is use Sally McFay's arguments against the current model, against Solomon's arguments. Particularly look at what Solomon says about greed. I mean, he kind of ends up saying, well, it helps, right? So
Yeah.
those who get rich are then able to build wings of hospitals and that sort of thing. So he doesn't really critique greed as being a bad thing. So you could use
Right.
McFay's argument there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. And look at, her argument against individualism, greed, and that sort of thing, and use those to fully, address those major issues that Solomon addresses.
Okay.
Couple of things that students tend to make mistakes on that I don't want you to do is a lot of times students will it's 2 pages single spaced,
Mm.
spend a page and a half describing the two views. You don't need to do that.
Okay.
I've read them.
Yeah.
So, you know, you can give a brief kind of overall of each, but then, you know, it might be best. I've seen students just go through the main arguments of Solomon and then say, this is what McFay says about greed. This is what McFay says about, you know, each of those aspects, and do it that way.
Gotcha. Okay.
Another thing that I know you wouldn't do, but some students have done in the past, is call Sally a he.
Yeah.
Sally's a she. Also, that both are arguing for equal distribution of resources. They're
Yeah.
not arguing for that. That would mean we all have the same kind of house and the same car. You know, it'd be equal.
Yeah.
They're arguing for equitable. And if there's anything else that comes up, I'll since you took the time to step in, I'll email you. This you can see my screen. I made a float for Mardi Gras because that's my front yard.
Okay.
I wanted to do something. So my daughter has this thing with gnomes, and so I make her all kinds of gnomes, and so we decided to do a stay gnome Mardi Gras float for
All right.
this is something to do, because usually I'm building a float for, we do Barkus.
Okay.
Have you been to Barkus?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do a float and put our dog on it and do all that.
Yeah.
Any other questions about the essay? Well, I'm remembering a couple of things. One is this is not a formal essay in terms of having to. Now, it's good to have a brief introduction, and the brief introduction needs to be, the purpose of this is to provide a critique of Solomon's view
Right.
via Sally McFay's overall argument. And that's really about it. And then get into it.
Okay.
So, I mean, needs to have good grammar and all of that, but I'm not looking for, I just want you to be thorough and answer the question. Just get to it.
Gotcha.
And did you have a question? I kind of interrupted you there.
No, I don't.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for coming by. And any other questions or?
Nope. I'm all good.
Okay.